Media thinks she knocked it out of the park. Watch.
She was very connected to her word. She seemed strong. She seemed competent. She seemed like someone who could be president of the United States.
I mean, she's brilliant in her answers of both those questions. The first question about her values haven't changed, and she does what's right on all these issues.
And she answered every question. Now, you might not like the way she answered them, but she answered them as a capable, qualified leader.
And she said, look, I ultimately said, this is what I was going to do. I kept my word, and I will keep my word again. And I thought that was the strongest argument she could put forward.
Getting things to a bunch of 5-year-olds.
It works, James, on the left-leaning press. I mean, keep in mind that Democrats really do see organizations like CNN, like MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, Washington Post, New York Times, but I could go on, as organizations attached to the Democrat Party. So the answer that she gave is satisfactory to folks on the left. It just doesn't necessarily appeal to folks who are down the middle or folks who are undecided voters. On the immigration issue.
Welcome back. Now let's take a deeper cut into Vice President Kamala Harris' most recent interview. Now today we're going to examine the media's portrayal and see if there's any meat on the bone to her responses. Now, was this a genuine political discourse or a media-crafted narrative? Let's find out. This is Marcus on the mic, breaking down the stories behind the headlines. Now, one thing I want to highlight right off the top is that she's got to be very careful in this situation. Because even though it was only 18 minutes long in total of her conversation, and a lot of people criticize her for only speaking 18 minutes in a 30-minute interview, half the time, she has to be very strategic about how she play this, from the beginning to the end. Now, I'm not voting for her, so I'm just putting that disclaimer out there, but I'm going to be honest and fair about how I see this. So let the truth be told. You know, she can't criticize and alienate President Joe Biden because he still has people that he gotta owe up to. And them voters that are loyal to him, if they don't mess with her, then they got 3 more options, apparently. But anyhow, moving on. In this interview here, he's going to bring up about the campaign ad tactic more than a journalistic effort by CNN. So let's explore some of these key points that he break down.
That everybody's talking about today, she's insisting she hasn't flip-flopped. Watch.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, Joe, I know I joked about the deadlines around time earlier because I think this answer is the most important. I think we need to scrutinize it. And it's not a joke, because isn't she admitting in that answer that she is betraying her true beliefs, her true far left values, just to win an election in that very answer?
That's a campaign ad right there, Todd, to answer your question. Yeah. Hey, Pennsylvania, how do you feel about the fact that she supports the Green New Deal, which means she probably wants to end the fossil fuel industry? That whole thing about she says that actually she's for fracking. Do you really believe that? She's also said she wants to end offshore drilling. And if that's the case, and you're a Pennsylvania voter, you can't be happy about that. If she's maintaining her values, that means she does want to abolish ICE. That means she does believe that illegal border crossings should be legal. That does mean she wants to provide health insurance for those who are here in the country illegally. We could go on, but Todd, again, I just think that she's looking down constantly during that interview, and there was no command there whatsoever. And again, that debates everything on September 10th at this point. She's going to have to be a lot better than she was last night. That's certainly for certain.
And all eyes will be watching. Joe Concha, amazing stuff. Have a great week and great holiday.
Now let's take a look at Kamala Harris' day one agenda. Now, That's always important about what a person gonna do when they get in office day one. But it seemed like she was struggling with it a little bit, and it was supposed to be about the middle class and economic reforms and opportunities of this nature. But it came off with, so-so, and didn't have that much details. You know what they say, the devil's in the details. So let's take a look at how some of these talking heads graded her performance and what they thought about it. Let's take a look.
Our answer.
Yeah.
What would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism.
Joe, the passage of time in that answer, all 35 seconds of that soundbite, has left me burdened by her lack of specifics of what has been. All joking aside, are these constant platitudes and lack of any specifics going to do it for her, going to win her the White House?
Absolutely not, Todd. I mean, August was a great month for her, right? Because, again, she was in teleprompter. I think now as we turn the page to September, and she does a debate for 90 minutes. Now, let's think about this. That interview she did last night was, 18 minutes? It was pre-taped. And if you look at her answer to Dana Bash again, go watch it. She's looking down most of the time or looking off into the air. She's not making any eye contact. Imagine her in front of President Xi or President Putin or anybody of substance. So, again, she did not look comfortable there at all. And by the way, if I
vision for how she wants to take the country forward with her opportunity economy, and then her voice. I think so many Americans want to know, who is she and does she have command of her voice? And she answered every question. Now, you might not like the way she answered them, but she answered them as a capable, qualified leader. And I do think she moved the ball forward a little bit. Maybe she didn't score a touchdown tonight, but she definitely moved down the field.
All right, Scott.
I agree with Ested about this idea of the question of who's going to change will be the fundamental defining question of the election. And I was sort of watching this, holistically. What is she saying? What does she look like? What's on the screen? So at the beginning, when she's talking about Biden and their record, our screen said, this is called the Chiron, the headline at the bottom. It said, Harris stands by Biden administration economic record. She is making it clear that she will embrace and be a continuation of Biden's economic policy, his record, what they've done. She offered no remorse, no regrets, no introspection about anything they've done. She continued to blame inflation on this fantasy price gouging idea. She had no additional thoughts on the economic situation in the country or what they've done beyond just saying, Joe Biden and I have done a great job. Now, if I were the Trump people, I would be salivating over the idea that that's how they are going to run the race. I don't believe it's tenable.
Curious what you think about this, Axe. Will voters care about that part of it, which is kind of backward looking, or do they care about what's next?
Well, I think the part of what Scott raised that could be problematical if they prosecute it properly is I think Biden deserves a lot more credit, frankly, for guiding the country through the pandemic and the economic calamity that he walked into than he gets. But inflation over a period of years has been a heavy toll on people here and around the world, but around the world is not relevant here. And so to the degree that they can say, she is going to continue doing exactly what Joe Biden was doing for people who don't have confidence in Biden's policies, that is a prospective problem. I don't.
All right. Now, tell me what you think in the comment section below. Now, do you think VP Harris has a solid economic plan for the citizens of the United States if she take office? Let me know. I mean, that's if we still consider citizens by elected government officials instead of consumers, but I digress. If you liked the video so far, go ahead and slam that like button, share. Anyway, moving on, I want to get into this next clip here. the commentators noted her nervousness and demeanor and how she relied on the notes. I mean, I remember seeing Peter Ducey saying that she had to have some handlers and some people kind of control what she say when she ain't on the teleprompter. But needless to say, they all question her ability to handle unscripted questions. Now, this raises some questions about high-stakes situations and will she be prepared for the debate stage. But let me stop talking. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's look at this clip.
I think we found the reason why Kamala Harris has avoided talking to the press for nearly 6 weeks since essentially becoming the Democratic nominee. You take away that teleprompter, and it's a train wreckalicious hot mess of a dumpster fire, if we want to use another word that actually doesn't exist. I mean, a few things to unpack from this interview here. I mean, for starters, she looked nervous, quite frankly. She filibustered a ton when she was answering these questions. Dana Bash asked some decent questions, but she forgot this thing called a follow-up when she was getting some answers that deserved follow-ups, clearly. And the lies that Kamala Harris told here, Todd, with her emotional support animal next to her in Tim Walz, which was a very awkward look. Sorry. Right? Let's face it, the guy barely spoke. Why was he even there? Look, the lies told during this interview were on a Baghdad Bob type of level. And by the way, the big picture here, and we've talked about this on the program, again, you take away that teleprompter, and she was looking down half the time, I assume at notes, and she sounded like a human Chernobyl. So I think that in the end, Todd, this will have a net negative instead of a net positive. I get some folks over on CNN and on MSNBC are going to say that they liked it, but they would have said that no matter what. I think when you see the clips going viral today, as they are, it ain't good. And I don't think you're going to see her do an interview again anytime soon, if at all, in the month of September. And that debate now becomes a big, big focus more than ever before. During that interview, and there was no command there whatsoever. And again, that debates everything on September 10th at this point. She's going to have to be a lot better than she was last night. That's certainly for certain.
And all eyes will be watching. Joe Concha, amazing stuff. Have a great weekend.
The thing is, too, the thing was so staged, and it looks at times even like she might have been looking down at her notes. And as we talked about, she couldn't even nail the basic stuff. With the debate now coming up, if that's going to happen, I think some of the CNN people, if you look at this bit from the CNN After Action panel, I think they're getting nervous. Look at this.
Okay, let's not be mistaken. I mean, Donald Trump is tall and very loud.
Yes.
And he is very persistent. It's not going to be so easy to just say, okay, let's move on. He's going to be right there.
Yes.
I think there's sort of a bit of a glimmer of understanding there that they may have a problem with this candidate in anything but the most scripted situation.
Keep in mind, she did run for president in 2020. She dropped out of the race in 2019. I'm not making that up. She didn't even make it to the first primaries in Iowa. She's not great on her feet. She is better, James. I will give her credit. She was better tonight than she was, say, 3 or 4 years ago. Being vice president for a couple of years will help that, I'm sure. But I think the Democrats are already sort of lowering expectations for her performance in a debate. I'm in the minority in this country. I still think there's a 50-50 chance there is no debate on September 10th because the Democrats may look at this event tonight along with the experiences they've had on Kamala Harris talk about policies in the past and say, you know what? It's not worth it to do this debate. Let's figure out a way to get out of it. So, look, I hope it takes place. I know a lot of folks in this country would like to see it. I'd like to see it. I think it's important that the voters have a chance to talk, to hear what the candidates have to say. But the Democrats may make the calculated sort of analysis that they're better off not doing that debate and not doing any more of these interviews going forward.
You make of how Vice President Harris did she meet the moment?
Yeah, I think she did what she needed to do. What she needed to do was be the same person that people have seen on the stage for the last month and have seen a new sense of sort of confidence, of calm and comfortable comfort that we haven't seen before from her. We didn't see certainly the last time she ran. She was very connected to her word. She seemed strong. She seemed competent. She seemed like someone who could be president of the United States. That was the first test. One thing, because I know we got a lot of opinions here.
We have time.
In interviews, they can be combat they can be a conversation. And what she needed to do was communicate. And so often in the past, she comes to an interview in a way prepared to be the interrogator. And people already know she's good at asking sharp, tough questions of people who she feels deserve scrutiny. It's her being under that scrutiny that has been where the stakes have been higher. And I think today it did show that she has the ability to sit down and have that back and forth that Republicans are talking about. Can she really do it? So how many more times? I don't know how much that matters. And I do get a little nervous that in the media we're preoccupied with like, how much access, how many conversations is she going to have in the settings we deem most valuable to voters, when this is a campaign that is actually making a mark.
Now, I want to jump in real quick and say something. Who does it matter to? It should matter to the voters. This is something that I thought that we as citizens of the United States, as voters, had the right to hear from our leader or our potential leaders. Why is this so different? But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move to the next topic. I digress. Let me go ahead and move to the next topic, y'all. All right. Now, the media role in shaping public perception is crucial, ladies and gentlemen. We know this. We got some that'll criticize her performance, and we got some that'll praise her performance. But like not being able to sit down and have somebody ask hard follow-up questions to comments, I mean, I know she pushed back a little bit. I mean, she wasn't like, Steve Harvey, where he's talking about alley hooping. I guess the media decided to just give her an assist. She still got to drop that dime. But anyhow, let me get to it. Let's watch this clip and see how they feel about these follow-up questions she had.
Let's see. Question one. How about this? You support taxing unrealized gains on capital gains. So critics say that will tank the stock market. Explain why they're wrong. Question two, she should have asked. You have voiced your support for sanctuary cities. Why do you believe they work? Question number three, I would have asked. You support free health care for those who enter the country illegally. How does that get paid for? And why should those here illegally receive the same benefits as those here in the country legally from a sanitation, education, and policing perspective? Question four, you support cash-free bail laws at a time crime is driving citizens out of cities like New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, your former city of San Francisco. Why do you think cash bail laws are best for the community? Right. And again, question five I would have asked, and I'll leave it here. You support biological men competing against biological women in sports. Why do you think that's fair given the clear advantage that poses, and it's a danger to female athletes? And oh, by the way, bonus question, can men get pregnant? I would have loved to have heard questions like that. I hope that she has asked those things at some point by ABC. I don't have a lot of faith in that, but again, can she go 90 minutes with Donald Trump sitting across the table when there's going to be a lot more questions and no support animal there? I don't think it's going to work too well, quite frankly.
I think at least one of those will come out in the debate, and to your point, it's going to be real tough for her to
Now, ladies and gentlemen, that brings it to a very broader conversation at hand. Are media outlets providing balanced coverage, or are they swaying public opinion on selected narratives? Public reaction has been mixed, don't get me wrong. Some viewers appreciate Harris' vision, while others were left wanting more clarity and some authenticity, as you can say. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Kamala Harris' interview and the media's coverage? Do you believe the media is fair, or there's some bias at play? I'm pretty sure there's going to be some interesting comments in the section. I can't wait to see them. In the conversation, let us know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This your boy Marcus on the mic. Don't forget to get some more insight. Stay informed. stay engaged, and stay true to your values. Thanks for watching. Till the next time, peace.